In this video, we are going over the essential travel tips for renting a car in New Zealand, as well as 5 ways to save big money on car rental in New Zealand.
Coming up. Hey guys, we're Robin and Laura, the team behind BackpackerGuide.NZ, helping you plan an epic backpacking trip in New Zealand.
Today we are going to cover everything you need to know about renting a car in New Zealand. We're going to cover the best rental companies in New Zealand, the best type of vehicle to rent for a road trip in New Zealand. We're going to cover the cost as well as the paperwork that you need to fill before renting a car in New Zealand, and what to do on pickup and drop off.
We'll also be going through a few road trip tips, and on top of all that, giving you 5 ways to save big money on your car rental in New Zealand. So let's get to it.
But before we begin, we publish videos like this one every day, so make sure to subscribe below to stay up to date. Step 1. What do you need to rent a car in New Zealand?
Well, a driving license would be handy, but preferably a full valid driving license written in English is perfect. However, if your driving license isn't in English, then it needs to be accompanied by an international driving permit or a translation that's been approved by the New Zealand Transport Agency.
Depending on the car rental company you choose, your age may also be a restriction. Some companies will simply not hire a car to people which are under 21 years old, and some companies will apply certain conditions and restrictions to people which are under 25 years old, such as restricted vehicle types as well as mandatory insurance.
But don't worry, there are plenty of rental companies in New Zealand that have a minimum driving age of 18 with no strings attached.
Finally, having a credit card may be a good idea. Some companies will require you to have a credit card just as a safety for them if you wreck the car or if you steal it. Otherwise, some companies will accept a bond, which is a big amount of money to be paid before taking the car, and will be refunded to you when you give it back safe and sound.
Step 2. Plan your car rental budget.
For the sake of this video, we are going to solely focus on the car rental part of your budget. Anything to do with food, accommodations, activities, flight is not going to be included there. But we have a video about that coming up real soon, and we'll link to it in the description below.
So the first obvious price to look at is the base price of your rental. This is usually presented as a daily rate. But of course, you don't know what is included in that base price until you start going through the booking process.
This is because your dates influence heavily the price of your rental. In summer, the prices can be almost twice higher than what it could be in winter, so make sure to plan your travel dates accordingly.
Which brings us on to extra costs. Once you have filled out your travel dates and the age of the youngest driver onto the car rental website, you'll then be able to see the extra fees.
One of the main extra fees that you will encounter is the young driver fee. A lot of car rental companies will make you pay a fee for having a driver under 25 years old, or simply will make their premium insurance mandatory. Another fee is the one-way fee, which means picking up the car in one location and dropping it off in another. This can set you back almost $300 with some companies. Another fee is the premium location. This is usually picking up the car from an airport. This will set you back about $10 to $20. And finally, there is the credit card fees that can be up to 4%.
With any booking, you will be offered optional extras like snow chains, GPS, maybe picnic tables, or even premium insurance, which can cost an extra $10 to $20 per day. We tend to say you don't really need these optional extras because insurance should be included already in your car rental base price. And also the other things you can either pick up cheap somewhere else, like the warehouse for instance in New Zealand, and also you can just download some maps onto your phone for GPS.
Yes, don't think that Google Maps is enough, just download a 99-cent map. Another important part in your budget is going to be your ferry crossing. This is something that everybody has to pay for, and it usually costs about 230 New Zealand dollars for one car, 2 people, return. But the earlier you book, the cheaper it gets. Another big one on your budget is going to be fuel cost. Expect to pay $2 a litre for petrol and about $1.35 a litre for diesel. However, remember that you will have to pay a road user charge, which is applied on every kilometers driven in New Zealand with a diesel car. That makes them more expensive to run than petrol cars. Also, we are talking gallons here, not litres, so make sure you do the conversion.
Finally, there is a small but unlikely cost of using toll roads in New Zealand. Now, there are only 3 toll roads in New Zealand, and every one of them is usually under $2 to pass through, which uses an automated service. So if you try to go through and not pay, then your rental company will know.
That's right, and on top of it, they will charge you usually around $40 just to pay the fine for you, and that's on top of your fine. But there is a lot of ways to avoid toll roads, which are usually super scenic, and it's really easy to pay for it online. We have a whole article dedicated to that on BackpackerGuide.NZ, and we'll link to it in the description below. Step 3. Choosing the right vehicle for your road trip.
The types of car rentals available in New Zealand include hatchback, SUVs, station wagons, people carriers, and also camper cars. Most of these will be automatic transmission, and sometimes you'll be offered a 4-wheel drive, but we don't really think this is necessary considering car rental companies tend to not allow you to go off-roading anyway.
If you pick a camper car, just be aware that you will still have to pay for campsite or holiday park fees. You cannot simply just park your car and sleep in the back of it. We have a lot of restrictions in New Zealand for freedom camping, and you need to be aware of those. We have a full article on freedom camping on BackpackerGuide.NZ, so you may want to read it. We'll link to it in the description below. Another factor when picking your car is the amount of people traveling with you, as well as the amount of luggage. You want to make sure that the vehicle you choose is going to be comfortable for everybody during your road trip. Finally, you may want to pick a vehicle which is new enough, because the fuel consumption difference between an old vehicle and a new one can be tremendous. The step 4 of our guide is comparing rental car companies.
When it comes to comparing car rental companies in New Zealand, you really need to look at what they offer as a package rather than just their base price. This does mean you will have to type in your details into several websites, booking pages, but this is really important because your travel dates make such an impact on the price.
Here's what to look for when comparing car rental companies in New Zealand.
Location.
Is the pickup location convenient for you? Is there a shuttle between your accommodation and the pickup spot? Is there a one-way fee between your pickup and your drop-off? You need to know all of that before choosing your car rental company.
Prices and inclusions.
If you find a price which is too good to be true, well, it probably is. That might mean an older vehicle that's going to cost you a lot to run on gas, as well as have a high risk of breakdown, ruining your trip. You also want to check what are the inclusions in your insurance. A lot of insurance don't cover windscreen damage, which are really common in New Zealand.
Vehicles offered.
Don't compromise on that. You need a vehicle that will fit all your party very comfortably. Do not settle for a smaller vehicle just because it's slightly bit cheaper.
Service.
A great way to check the service of different car rental companies is to email them and check their response time. This will really help you see which one stands above the rest.
And finally, reviews.
We love checking out reviews on Facebook groups. We link in the description below to a few of the ones that we really like. You can also check reviews on several websites, but be aware, a lot of them have a monetary incentive on bumping the score of some of the car rental companies. Step 5 is booking and picking up your vehicle.
When it comes to booking your car rental in New Zealand, you will either have to pay a deposit or the price of the rental in full. Either way, you will pay for your car rental before the rental and not afterwards. Also, the company may require for you to have a credit card so that they can take your details on pickup. If you don't have a credit card, then you'll need to look for a car rental company that either takes another type of payment method or maybe accepts a bond, which is a refundable sum of money that will be given back to you once you return the car rental vehicle in the condition that you took it. All this information is usually found in the FAQ section of the car rental company's website.
Once you're in New Zealand, from the airport, you're usually going to get a free shuttle to the car rental depot. There, it's about the pickup process. You will have to give them your credit cards or pay the bonds. You will also have to give them your driver license and your international driver permit if you have one. And then it's up to the car inspection. You want to walk all around the vehicle and check for scratches and dents and make sure that all of them are written on the report, because you will have to pay for any damages done to the car during your rental. You also want to check the fuel level, because you're supposed to receive the car with a full tank of fuel and give it back with a full gas tank as well.
Step 6. How to plan an awesome travel itinerary.
If you decide to rent a car in New Zealand, that probably means that you have a very limited time in the country and want to make the most of it. So pick up a map of New Zealand and make some massive crosses on your must-do. Then add extra crosses along the way to make sure that you do not have more than 2-hour drive a day. You don't want to be driving all the time. If possible, try to make it a loop around New Zealand so you avoid a hefty one-way fee.
Another tip is about making bookings. Now this depends on what season you are travelling in New Zealand. That determines how far in advance you should make some accommodation bookings. New Zealand's summer is between December and February, and during this time you will want to make quite a few bookings for accommodation. And no matter what time of year you travel, you'll always want to book your ferry crossing between the North Island and the South Island as soon as possible so that you can get the best deal. Otherwise, you can be pretty flexible when travelling around.
Aside from Lake Tekapo and Milford Sound, where you want to always have booked at least a month in advance. Step 7. What to expect from the New Zealand roads.
Before you hit the road, you need to know what the New Zealand road rules are. Obviously in New Zealand we drive on the left-hand side of the road, but also there's a few things you're probably unaware of or just not used to. For instance, there are a lot of one-way bridges in New Zealand, and you need to be aware of who has priority when crossing these bridges. Also, most of the state highways in New Zealand are just one lane, so you need to be comfortable in passing other cars when it is safe, pulling over to let other vehicles pass you when it is safe, and also using passing lanes. All this information and more is on our 12 golden rules to driving in New Zealand, which we have on BackpackerGuide.NZ. The link will be in the description below.
Another thing to be aware of when driving in New Zealand is the travelling time. Expect them to be much longer than what your GPS says, because the roads in New Zealand are often winding and very often beautiful, so you'll want to stop for pictures. You also don't want to rely on your GPS too much, because Laura and I have been on tricky situations often when the GPS has chosen the fastest route versus the safest one.
Step 8. Returning the car.
The best time to return your car is during the opening hours of the rental depot, so you'll be able to go through the whole car inspection with the staff. First up, they're going to be checking that the gas tank is full, then they will do a visual inspection of the car, making sure that there is nothing broken. You can do the whole process with them, making sure that they do a good job. Then it will be up to the outstanding fees. That can be road user charge if your car was diesel, for example. Finally, you will be able to tell them if you did get any fine during your trip. If you don't tell them and you did get a fine, they will charge you an extra fee on top of your fine. So try to avoid that.
Fines can include fines for freedom camping, unpaid toll roads, and also parking tickets.
If you want to give your car after opening hours, usually there will be a call-out fee of about $30, or some companies will give you some specific instructions on where to park the car and where to leave the keys.
Also, when you leave your car, make sure you take some pictures as you park it up, just for your own records. From planning your car rental to returning your rental car, we hope this video has given you loads of helpful tips for renting a car in New Zealand. But wait, as promised, here are 5 tips for making a huge saving on your car rental in New Zealand. Number 1.
Check if your credit card company includes a car rental option. This will save you over $20 a day.
Number 2.
Do not buy any optional extra. Who will pay $10 a day for a $30 chair? Just buy it here and then give it back to another backpacker.
Number 3.
Consider traveling in the shoulder season. Avoid December through February because the prices are sky high at this time of the year.
Number 4.
If traveling for a short period of time, consider car relocation. You can even get the car for free. We have an article about that on BackpackerGuide.NZ and the link is below.
And number 5.
If dropping off the car in the airport, try to avoid fueling up the car near the airport because that's where the price is super high.
And that's it. If you've got this far, you're going to kill it on a road trip in New Zealand. And if you do have any more questions about renting a car in New Zealand, be sure to stick them in the comments below.
Also, if you want some inspiration for your bucket list, make sure to check out New Zealand's Biggest Gap Year, where we challenge ourselves to tackle 365 activities in New Zealand in only 365 days. It's absolutely epic. We also want you to comment below for the subject of our next video. Also, give us a subscribe and be part of the team.
Until next time, thanks for watching.